Baby saw a German shepherd, drowning in wet cement. What he did next left everyone in tears. The story you're about to listen to will touch your heart in ways you never imagined. What this brave little boy did when no one was watching will leave you speechless. Don't forget to like, share, and comment telling us where you're watching from. Little Tommy's eyes widened as he heard the faint whimpering sound coming from behind the tall fence. At just 5 years old, his curious nature always led him to places his mother Jamie warned him about, especially the abandoned construction site near their apartment building. But today, that curiosity would change lives forever. "Mom, I'm going to play with my trucks in the backyard," Tommy called out, his voice innocent and sweet as he peeked into his mother's home office. Jamie looked up from her computer screen, brushing a strand of auburn hair from her tired eyes. "Okay, honey, but stay where I can see you from the window. No wandering off, promise?" "I promise," Tommy said, crossing his heart with his small finger, his bright blue eyes twinkling with what his mother would later recognize as mischief. Jamie smiled at her son, unaware that this ordinary Tuesday would turn into the most extraordinary day of their lives. She returned to her work, the deadline for her graphic design project looming over her like a storm cloud. Single motherhood wasn't easy, especially with a curious child like Tommy, but she made it work, one day at a time. Tommy grabbed his favorite red truck and headed outside. The spring sun warmed his face as he played in the small backyard of their apartment complex. But the mysterious sound kept calling to him. It wasn't like the neighborhood cats or the birds that nested in the oak tree. This sound was different, desperate, frightened, and somehow human-like. His trucks forgotten, Tommy moved closer to the wooden fence that separated their property from the abandoned construction site. A loose board, one he had discovered weeks ago but never told his mother about, became his secret passage to adventure. He glanced back at the apartment, making sure his mother wasn't watching from the window, then slipped through the gap. The construction site stretched before him like an alien landscape. Piles of sand, stacks of bricks, and half-finished concrete structures created a maze of possibilities for a boy with an imagination as wild as Tommy's. But today, he wasn't interested in pretending to be an astronaut or a pirate. The whimpering sound grew louder, pulling him forward like an invisible string. "Hello?" Tommy called out softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is someone there?" He followed the sound past a rusted bulldozer and around a mountain of gravel. The whimpering grew more desperate, more urgent. Tommy's heart pounded in his chest, partly from fear, partly from excitement. And then he saw it. In a freshly poured section of cement, a large German shepherd was trapped, struggling helplessly. The dog's back legs and lower body were submerged in the wet concrete, while its front paws desperately scratched at the hardening surface. Dark, soulful eyes looked up at Tommy, filled with fear and a silent plea for help. Tommy froze. His mother had always taught him to be careful around strange dogs. "They might be scared and bite you," she'd warned, but this dog didn't look dangerous. It looked terrified. "It's okay," Tommy whispered, inching closer. "I won't hurt you." The dog whimpered again, its struggles becoming weaker. Tommy could see the cement was beginning to harden. Time was running out. He needed to act fast. "I'll help you," Tommy promised, his young mind racing with possible solutions. He looked around frantically for something, anything that could help free the trapped animal. The dog's eyes never left Tommy's face, as if it understood every word. Its tail, one of the few parts still fully visible, gave a weak wag. Tommy's heart squeezed in his chest. If he ran home for help, his mother would be angry that he'd disobeyed her. She might take too long to come, busy with her important work. By then, it might be too late for the dog. "I have to do this myself," Tommy decided, his small face setting with determination beyond his years. He spotted some wooden planks leaning against a half-built wall nearby. Maybe he could use them to reach the dog without getting stuck himself. With all the strength his little body could muster, Tommy dragged one of the smaller planks over to the edge of the cement pool. "Stay still," he instructed the dog, as if they were old friends. "I'm coming to get you." The German shepherd seemed to understand, its struggles ceasing as it watched the small boy work. Tommy carefully placed the plank across the wet cement, creating a makeshift bridge. The wood sank slightly, but appeared to hold. Holding his breath, Tommy took his first step onto the plank. It wobbled under his weight, and fear shot through him like electricity. What if he fell in too? What if they both got stuck? What if no one found them until it was too late? The dog whined again, the sound piercing Tommy's heart. He couldn't give up now. "It's okay, buddy," he murmured. "I'm not leaving you." With each careful step, the plank sank deeper into the cement. Tommy was halfway across when he heard a cracking sound. Before he could react, the wood splintered beneath him. Tommy cried out, jumping back just in time, landing hard on the solid ground at the edge. His elbow stung where it scraped against the rough concrete, and tears welled up in his eyes. But the dog's desperate whimper pushed the pain away. "I need a different plan," Tommy whispered to himself, wiping away his tears with a dusty hand. His mother always said he was a good problem solver. "Think, Tommy. Think." The dog was sinking deeper, its struggles growing weaker by the minute. Tommy's eyes darted around the construction site, searching for anything that could help. And then he saw it, a coiled garden hose near a water spigot at the corner of the site. Hope surged through him as he sprinted toward it. The hose was heavy, but determination gave him strength. He dragged it back to the cement pool, his small arms straining with the effort. "I'm back," he called to the dog, who lifted its head weakly. "Don't give up." Tommy uncoiled the hose, fashioning one end into a loop. Like the lasso game he played at his cousin's birthday party last summer. Only this wasn't a game. This was life or death. "I'll throw this to you," he explained to the dog, his voice trembling slightly. "Try to grab it with your teeth, okay?" For a brief moment, Tommy could have sworn the dog nodded. Its eyes remained fixed on him, intelligent and trusting. Tommy swung the looped end of the hose in circles, just like he'd seen cowboys do in movies. His first throw fell short, splashing into the cement a few inches from the dog's head. The second went too far to the left. "Third time's the charm," Tommy muttered, his mother's favorite saying giving him courage. This time, the loop landed perfectly, settling around the dog's neck and upper body. The German Shepherd remained perfectly still, as if it knew exactly what Tommy was trying to do. "Good dog," Tommy exclaimed, his heart swelling with hope. "Now, hold on tight." He wrapped the other end of the hose around his waist and began to pull. Nothing happened. The cement held the dog like quicksand, refusing to release its prisoner. Tommy's small sneakers scraped against the ground as he leaned back with all his might. Sweat beaded on his forehead, and his muscles screamed in protest. Still, he pulled and pulled, refusing to give up. "Come on," he grunted through clenched teeth. "Please." Just when he thought it was hopeless, he felt movement. The dog shifted slightly, one of its front paws breaking free from the cement. Encouraged, Tommy pulled harder, ignoring the burning in his arms and back. "You can do it," he urged the dog. "Just a little more." The German Shepherd seemed to understand, using its front legs to help push against the cement. Slowly, painfully, its body began to emerge from the gray, sticky prison. As Tommy pulled, he noticed something around the dog's neck. A worn leather collar, partially obscured by mud and cement. A name was etched into a metal tag, barely visible. "Chief." "Chief?" Tommy called out, testing the name. "Is that your name, boy?" The dog's ears perked up, and despite its dire situation, its tail wagged more vigorously. "Chief it is then! Come on, Chief! We're almost there!" With one final mighty pull, Tommy felt Chief's body break free from the cement's grip. The dog lunged forward, scrambling onto solid ground, his back legs finally free. Both boy and dog collapsed in exhaustion, panting and trembling. Chief's lower body was caked in cement, but he was alive, free. The dog shook violently, trying to rid himself of the quickly hardening substance. Then, despite his ordeal, Chief limped over to Tommy and gently licked the boy's face. Tommy giggled, throwing his arms around the dog's neck. "We did it, Chief! We really did it!" For a moment, they stayed like that, a small boy and a rescued dog, connected by something deeper than words could express. Then Tommy remembered his mother. "I have to get you cleaned up before the cement dries completely," he said, looking around for the water spigot he'd seen earlier, "and then I need to figure out who you belong to." He helped Chief limp over to the water source, turning it on and gently washing away as much of the wet cement as he could. The dog stood patiently, occasionally licking Tommy's hand in gratitude. As Tommy worked, he noticed something strange about Chief's collar. There was a small metal capsule attached to it, different from any dog tag he'd ever seen. Curiosity piqued, he examined it closer. "What's this, Chief?" he murmured, turning the capsule in his small fingers. Before he could investigate further, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Hey, what are you doing here, kid?" Tommy's head snapped up to see two men approaching from the other side of the construction site. They wore no construction uniforms or hard hats, and something about their hurried stride made Tommy's stomach knot with fear. "This is private property," the taller man called out, his voice attempting to sound friendly despite the hardness in his eyes. "And I believe that's our dog you've got there." Chief's reaction was immediate and alarming. The dog, who had been nothing but gentle with Tommy, began to growl, his hackles rising as he positioned himself protectively in front of the boy. Tommy's hand instinctively tightened around Chief's collar. Something wasn't right. If these men were Chief's owners, why was the dog so afraid of them? "He was stuck in the cement," Tommy said, his voice small but steady. "I got him out." The shorter man forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Well, aren't you a little hero? Thanks for saving our dog. We'll take him now." Chief's growl deepened, his body trembling not with weakness now, but with what Tommy recognized as fear and anger. "I don't think he's your dog," Tommy said, surprising himself with his boldness. His mother always said he should respect adults, but these men, something told him they weren't telling the truth. The taller man's fake smile vanished. "Listen, kid, that dog belongs to us. Hand him over before you get in trouble." Chief barked sharply, the sound echoing across the empty construction site. Tommy noticed how the men flinched, their eyes darting nervously to the collar around Chief's neck. "He doesn't want to go with you," Tommy insisted, his heart pounding wildly. "And I don't think you're telling the truth." The shorter man took a step forward, his face darkening. "That mutt knows too much," he muttered, seemingly forgetting Tommy was there. "We can't let him get away again." "Too much about what?" Tommy asked, confusion mixing with his fear. The men exchanged glances, and Tommy knew he'd heard something he wasn't supposed to. Chief pressed against his legs, as if trying to urge the boy to run. "Never mind that," the taller man snapped. "Give us the dog, and we'll forget we saw you trespassing. Your parents wouldn't be happy to hear about that, would they?" Tommy swallowed hard. They were right about one thing. His mother would be furious if she knew he was at the construction site, but he couldn't leave Chief with these men. The dog had trusted him, and he wouldn't betray that trust. "My dad's a policeman," Tommy lied, saying the first thing that came to mind. "He'll be here any minute to pick me up." It was a desperate bluff, but it worked better than he could have hoped. The men hesitated, looking at each other with obvious concern. "Police?" the shorter one repeated, his voice tense. In the distance, as if by miracle, the wail of a siren cut through the air. It was probably headed somewhere else entirely, but the men didn't know that. "That's him now," Tommy said, trying to sound confident despite his trembling legs. "He always puts the siren on when he comes to get me." The taller man cursed under his breath. "This isn't over, kid," he warned, already backing away. "That dog is ours, and we'll be back for him." Tommy watched as they hurried away, disappearing around the corner of a half-built structure. Only when they were completely out of sight did he let out the breath he'd been holding. "That was close, Chief," he whispered, his small hand stroking the dog's matted fur. "Who were those guys? And what did they mean about you knowing too much?" Chief whined softly, nudging Tommy's arm with his nose. The capsule on his collar caught the sunlight, reminding Tommy of his earlier curiosity. With trembling fingers, he opened the small metal container. Inside was a tightly rolled piece of paper. Tommy carefully extracted it, unrolling it to reveal a string of numbers and letters that made no sense to his young mind. "What is this, Chief? Is it important?" Before he could ponder further, a familiar voice called out his name, the panic in it unmistakable. "Tommy! Tommy! Where are you?" His mother. She must have discovered he was missing. Guilt washed over him as he imagined how worried she must be. "I'm here, Mom," he called back, quickly tucking the paper into his pocket. "Over here! I found a dog!" Jamie appeared at the gap in the fence, her face pale with fear. When she spotted her son standing in the middle of the construction site, her expression morphed from relief to anger in an instant. "Thomas Allen Walker! What did I tell you about this place? Get over here right now!" Tommy hesitated, looking down at Chief. "But Mom, I have to help this dog. He was stuck in cement, and there were these men who said he was theirs, but Chief was scared of them. And I think they're bad men, and—" "Tommy, please," Jamie interrupted, her voice softening as she noticed the dog for the first time. "Just come here and explain everything." Tommy nodded, gently urging Chief to follow him. The dog limped alongside the boy, still protective despite his obvious pain and exhaustion. As they reached Jamie, her anger melted at the sight of the cement-covered dog and her son's scraped elbow. She knelt down, checking Tommy for further injuries. "I'm okay, Mom," Tommy assured her, "but Chief needs help. The cement is drying on his legs. Jamie looked at the German Shepherd, noticing his intelligent eyes and the protective way he stayed at Tommy's side. Despite her rule against pets in their small apartment, she found herself reaching out to gently stroke the dog's head. "You said some men were looking for him?" she asked, her maternal instincts on high alert. Tommy nodded vigorously. "They were scary, Mom, and Chief was afraid of them. I don't think they're really his owners." Jamie bit her lip, looking from her son to the dog and back again. She noticed the metal capsule on Chief's collar and recognized it immediately. "That's a canine identification capsule," she murmured, her fingers tracing the cylindrical container. "This isn't just any dog, Tommy. He's a police dog." Tommy's eyes widened. "A police dog? Like the ones that catch bad guys?" Jamie nodded, carefully opening the capsule and examining the paper inside. Her face paled as she read the code. "We need to make a phone call," she said, her voice serious. "Right now." "Are we calling the police?" Tommy asked, excitement mixing with fear. Jamie nodded, taking her son's hand and gently patting Chief's head. "Yes, honey. And I think we just got involved in something much bigger than a lost dog." As they hurried back to their apartment, Tommy couldn't help but look over his shoulder, searching for any sign of the two men. They'd said they would be back, and something told him they meant it. Chief stayed close to Tommy, limping but determined. Whatever secret the dog carried, whatever danger pursued them, one thing was clear. The bond formed between a brave little boy and a German Shepherd trapped in cement was only the beginning of their story. And somewhere, in a shadowy corner of the construction site, watching eyes followed their retreat, already planning their next move. Would you have been brave enough to save Chief if you were Tommy's age? Comment below with your answer. Back in their apartment, Jamie carefully washed the dried cement from Chief's fur, while Tommy hovered anxiously nearby. The German Shepherd remained surprisingly calm under her touch, his intelligent eyes moving between mother and son. "Mom, look," Tommy said, pointing to Chief's collar. "There's something written on the tag." Jamie leaned closer, wiping away the last bits of cement to reveal the name etched into the metal, Chief on one side, and what appeared to be a badge number on the other. "K9 Unit 437, she read aloud, her brow furrowing. "Tommy, I think this confirms it. Chief is definitely a police dog." Tommy's eyes widened with excitement. "Like the ones that catch bad guys and find lost people?" "Exactly like that," Jamie nodded, gently examining Chief's legs for injuries. "The question is, what happened to his handler? Police dogs are never without their partners." As if understanding her words, Chief let out a soft whine, his eyes growing distant with what looked remarkably like sadness. Tommy placed a comforting hand on the dog's head. "It's okay, Chief," he whispered. "We'll help you find your person." Jamie reached for her phone. "I'm calling the police station. They need to know we found one of their dogs." While Jamie dialed, Tommy continued to stroke Chief's fur, noticing how the dog seemed to relax at his touch. Then, something caught his eye, a faint scar running along Chief's side, partially hidden by his thick coat. "Mom, I think he was hurt before," Tommy said, carefully tracing the healed wound with his small finger. "Look at this." Jamie paused her call attempt, leaning over to examine the scar. "You're right. That looks like—" She hesitated, not wanting to frighten her son, like he might have been in some kind of accident. Chief's ears perked up at her words, his eyes suddenly alert. He gave a short bark, as if confirming her theory. "It's like he understands us," Tommy whispered, awe evident in his voice. Before Jamie could respond, her call connected. "Yes, hello. I need to report a found police dog, a German Shepherd with K9 unit identification number 437. Tommy watched as his mother's expression shifted from concern to confusion, then to shock. "Missing for 6 months? Are you sure?" Chief's tail thumped against the floor, at the excitement in her voice. "Yes, we'll bring him in right away, but I should mention, my son found him at the abandoned construction site on Maple Street, and there were 2 men claiming he belonged to them. Chief seemed afraid of them." Another pause as Jamie listened, her face growing increasingly serious. "I understand. We'll be careful. Thank you." She hung up, turning to Tommy with a mixture of pride and worry. "The officer says Chief has been missing since a big fire investigation 6 months ago. They've been looking for him ever since." "A fire?" Tommy echoed, instinctively hugging Chief closer. Jamie nodded. "They're sending someone to pick us up. They don't want us traveling alone with Chief, just in case those men are still around." Tommy's stomach fluttered with a mixture of excitement and fear. "Are we in danger, Mom?" Jamie hesitated, then knelt to her son's level. "I don't think so, honey, but Chief might be an important witness to something, and we need to make sure he gets back to the police safely." "A dog can't be a witness," Tommy giggled, the concept seemingly absurd to his 5-year-old mind. "Actually, police dogs are very special," Jamie explained, gathering their jackets. "Chief might have evidence or know things that could help solve a case." Tommy looked at Chief with newfound respect. "Is that true, boy? Are you a super spy dog?" Chief's tail wagged, and he licked Tommy's face, causing the boy to dissolve into laughter. For a moment, the tension in the room lifted, replaced by the simple joy of a boy and his dog, even if that dog wasn't truly his. 20 minutes later, a police car pulled up outside their apartment building. Jamie peeked through the blinds, making sure it was legitimate before gathering her purse and Tommy's jacket. "They're here," she said, helping Tommy with his zipper. "Remember, we need to tell them everything about how you found Chief and those men." Tommy nodded solemnly, suddenly feeling very important. "I won't forget anything, I promise." Chief stood at attention by the door, his posture transforming from tired rescue to alert service dog. When Jamie opened the door to greet the officers, Chief's reaction was immediate and unexpected. The German Shepherd froze, staring at the younger of the two officers. A high-pitched whine escaped his throat, and then, before anyone could stop him, Chief bounded forward with surprising strength, nearly knocking the officer over with enthusiastic jumping and licking. "Chief!" the officer exclaimed, dropping to his knees and embracing the dog. "I can't believe it's really you, boy." Tommy watched in confusion. "Mom, does he know Chief?" The older officer turned to them with a smile. Officer Ryan Bennett was Chief's trainer before Chief was assigned to his handler. They had a special bond. Officer Bennett looked up, tears glistening in his eyes. "I never thought we'd see him again, not after what happened to Mike." "Mike?" Jamie questioned, ushering Tommy forward. Bennett's face darkened as he continued to stroke Chief's fur. "Mike Carson, Chief's handler. He didn't make it out of the fire 6 months ago." Tommy's small hand found Chief's back, feeling the dog tremble at the mention of the name. "The fire you were asking about on the phone?" The older officer nodded. "Your son's discovery might be more important than you realize, ma'am. Chief was with Officer Carson when the fire started, but he disappeared afterward. We've been searching for him ever since." "Because he's a good police dog?" Tommy asked innocently. The officers exchanged a glance that didn't escape Jamie's notice. "That's part of it," Officer Bennett said carefully, "but also because Chief might know what really happened that night." Jamie placed a protective hand on Tommy's shoulder. "And the men my son saw, could they be connected?" "That's what we intend to find out," the older officer replied grimly. "Now, if you'll both come with us to the station, we have some questions about exactly where and how you found Chief." As they walked to the police car, Chief stayed glued to Tommy's side, occasionally looking up at Officer Bennett, but always returning to guard the small boy who had saved him. At the police station, Tommy sat in a colorful room designed for children, drawing a picture of his rescue mission, while Jamie spoke with detectives in the next room. Chief refused to leave Tommy's side, despite attempts by other officers to guide him to the K-9 unit area. "He likes you," Officer Bennett commented, watching Chief rest his head on Tommy's lap as the boy colored. "That's unusual. Chief was always a one-person dog, loyal to Mike and suspicious of everyone else." Tommy beamed with pride, scratching behind Chief's ears. "We're friends. I saved him from the cement." "And that was incredibly brave," Bennett said, sitting down across from Tommy. "Can you tell me more about the men you saw, the ones who said Chief belonged to them?" Tommy's crayon paused mid-stroke. "They were scary," he said quietly. "Not scary like monsters. Scary like when grown-ups are angry but trying not to show it." Bennett nodded encouragingly. "That's a very good description. What did they look like?" Tommy's forehead wrinkled in concentration. "One was tall with a black jacket. He had a scar here," he pointed to his eyebrow. "The other one was shorter and talked funny, like his words were too big for his mouth." Bennett's expression sharpened. "An accent?" Tommy nodded. "Yeah, like Mr. Paolo at the grocery store, but different." "And they specifically claimed Chief was their dog?" "Uh-huh. But Chief growled at them. He was scared and angry." Tommy looked down at the dog. "They said Chief knew too much, and that they couldn't let him get away again. Bennett went very still. Those were their exact words? Knew too much? Tommy nodded, feeling suddenly important. Yes, and they got really scared when I said my dad was a policeman coming to get me. His face fell slightly. But that was a lie. I don't have a dad. Bennett placed a gentle hand on Tommy's shoulder. That was quick thinking. You did exactly the right thing. In the other room, Jamie sat across from Detective Sarah Mercer, the lead investigator on what they were now calling the Carson fire case. So, you're saying this wasn't just any fire? Jamie asked, trying to make sense of everything she'd been told. Detective Mercer's tired eyes met hers. Officer Carson was investigating a series of arsons linked to a construction company owned by Viktor Petrov. We believe he found evidence connecting Petrov to the fires, but before he could bring it in, there was a fire at his own home. And they think it wasn't an accident, Jamie concluded. We know it wasn't, Mercer corrected. The accelerant pattern was too deliberate, but without Chief, who was trained in detecting fire accelerants, or the evidence Carson had gathered, we hit a dead end. Jamie leaned forward. And now these men are after Chief. Why? It's been 6 months. That's what worries me, Mercer admitted. If they're still trying to find Chief after all this time, it means whatever evidence is connected to him is still relevant and dangerous to someone. A thought occurred to Jamie. The construction site where Tommy found Chief, could it be connected to this Petrov person? Detective Mercer's eyes widened slightly. She flipped through some files on her desk until she found what she was looking for. The abandoned Maple Street development? It was initially a Petrov construction project, but they pulled out mysteriously about 7 months ago. Right before the fire that killed Officer Carson, Jamie whispered, the pieces falling into place. Mercer stood abruptly. We need to get a forensic team to that construction site immediately. Meanwhile, in the children's room, Tommy had finished his drawing and was now examining Chief's collar more closely, specifically the metal capsule that had caught his attention earlier. What's this for? He asked Officer Bennett, pointing to the cylindrical container. Bennett smiled. That's for emergency information. If Chief gets separated from his handler during a mission, another officer can open it to find out what he was working on. Tommy's eyes lit up. Can we open it now? Maybe it tells us what Chief knows. Bennett hesitated, then nodded. It's worth checking. We've been looking for Chief for so long, I don't think anyone thought to see if Mike left a message. With careful fingers, Bennett unscrewed the tiny capsule and removed a tightly rolled piece of paper. As he unfolded it, his expression changed from curiosity to shock. What is it? Tommy asked, trying to peek at the paper. Coordinates, Bennett breathed. And a code. It's Mike's handwriting. Chief barked once, his tail wagging as if in confirmation. He was trying to leave a trail, Bennett realized. Mike must have known he was in danger. He left this information with Chief in case something happened to him. The door opened, and Detective Mercer entered with Jamie. We're heading to the construction site, she announced. Forensics team is meeting us there. Bennett held up the paper. We need to add another stop. Mike left coordinates. Mercer's eyes widened as she took the paper. This could be where he hid the evidence. Good work, officer. She glanced at Tommy with a smile. Both officers. Tommy beamed, his chest puffing with pride. As they prepared to leave, Tommy tugged on his mother's sleeve. Mom, can Chief stay with us until they find the bad guys? I'll take really good care of him. Before Jamie could respond, a commotion erupted in the hallway. Shouting voices and hurried footsteps approached their door. Detective, an officer called, bursting into the room. There's been a break-in at the evidence storage facility. Someone stole all the files from the Carson case. Chief growled, the hair on his back standing up. Not a coincidence, Mercer said grimly. They know we found Chief. We need to move now. As they hurried through the station, Tommy noticed Chief's behavior changing. The dog kept looking at different officers, his eyes alert and searching, his nose working overtime. What's he doing? Tommy whispered to Officer Bennett. He's scanning, Bennett explained quietly. Chief was also trained to identify people by their scent. It's almost like he's... Chief suddenly stopped, his attention fixed on a heavy-set officer walking toward them from the break room. A low, warning growl rumbled from his chest. Chief? Bennett questioned, following the dog's gaze. The officer in question faltered mid-step, his eyes locking with Chief's. For a moment, everyone stood frozen in a tableau of sudden tension. Then chaos erupted. The officer turned and sprinted toward the exit, shoving aside anyone in his path. Chief barked sharply and lunged forward, only restrained by Bennett's quick grab of his collar. "Stop him!" Mercer shouted. "That's not Officer Jackson!" Tommy watched in amazement as police officers converged on the fleeing man. Chief strained against Bennett's hold, barking furiously. "He recognized him," Tommy said in awe. "Chief knew he wasn't a real police officer." Jamie pulled Tommy close, shielding him from the commotion. "Is that possible?" she asked Bennett over the noise. Bennett nodded, his expression grim. Chief would know every officer in this precinct, especially those who worked closely with Mike. Whoever that is, he doesn't belong here. "And he came for the case files," Mercer added, returning from the brief pursuit. "They got him in the parking lot. Claims his name is Peter Volkov." "One of Petrov's men," Bennett said. "They're getting desperate." Mercer nodded. "And desperate men are dangerous. We need to get you and your son somewhere safe, Ms. Walker, along with Chief." Tommy looked up at the adults, feeling the weight of their concern, but also a rush of excitement. "Are we going into hiding, like in the movies?" Mercer's stern expression softened slightly. "Something like that. Just until we follow these coordinates and find what Officer Carson left behind." "And then will the bad guys go to jail?" Tommy asked hopefully. "That's the plan," Bennett assured him, ruffling his hair. As they were escorted to an unmarked police car, Tommy noticed Chief's continued alertness, the dog's eyes constantly scanning, protecting. Something about Chief's dedication triggered a memory in Tommy's mind. "Mom," he whispered as they settled into the back seat, "do you think Chief is looking for someone else too? Not just the bad guys, but maybe someone good?" Jamie glanced at the German Shepherd, noting how even amid the chaos, there was a sadness in the dog's eyes. "I think he misses his person," she said softly. "Officer Carson was his family." Tommy nodded thoughtfully, wrapping an arm around Chief's neck. "Then we'll be his family until he feels better," he declared, with the simple certainty of childhood. What Tommy couldn't know was how prophetic his innocent words would prove to be. As the car pulled away from the station, heading toward a safe house on the outskirts of town, the first pieces of a puzzle 6 months in the making were finally falling into place. And at the center of it all was a brave little boy and the police dog he had rescued from cement, a dog who carried not just evidence in his collar, but memories in his heart that would finally bring justice for his fallen handler. Do you think the mysterious coordinates will lead to important evidence? Tell us your theories in the comments. The safe house was a small cabin nestled among pine trees, about an hour's drive from the city. As Tommy stepped out of the car, he breathed in the fresh forest air, momentarily forgetting the danger that had brought them here. Chief bounded out after him, seeming to gain energy from the natural surroundings. "This place is awesome," Tommy exclaimed, watching Chief explore the perimeter, nose to the ground. "It's like camping." Jamie smiled at her son's enthusiasm despite the circumstances. "Just remember, we're not here for fun, honey. We need to stay safe until the police can solve their case." Officer Bennett unloaded their hastily packed bags from the trunk. "It's not the Ritz, but it's secure. We've got officers patrolling the area, and no one knows you're here." Detective Mercer emerged from inspecting the cabin. "Everything's clear. We've got food, water, and basic supplies. I've set up a secure line to the station." She knelt to Tommy's level. "Thank you for being so brave, young man. You and Chief have given us our first real lead in months." Tommy beamed with pride, but his smile faltered as he noticed Chief's behavior. The German Shepherd stood rigid at the edge of the clearing, ears forward, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "Chief?" Tommy called nervously. "What's wrong, boy?" Bennett followed Chief's gaze, hand moving instinctively to his holster. "Everyone inside, now!" Mercer drew her weapon, positioning herself between the family and whatever threat Chief had detected. "Movement in the trees," she whispered. "Could be nothing, but—" The sound of a branch snapping sent Chief into a frenzy of barking. Bennett hustled Tommy and Jamie into the cabin, while Mercer covered their retreat. Inside, Tommy pressed his face to the window, despite his mother's attempts to pull him away. "Is it the bad men? Did they follow us?" "I'm sure it's just a deer," Jamie said, not believing her own words. Bennett's radio crackled to life. "Perimeter officer checking in. We've got tracks on the north side. Someone's been here recently, but the area is clear now." Mercer holstered her weapon with visible relief. "False alarm, but let's stay vigilant. They had someone inside the police station. They could have other resources we don't know about." As evening fell, the cabin took on a cozy atmosphere, despite the circumstances. Tommy sat on the floor with Chief, teaching the dog to shake, while Jamie helped Officer Bennett prepare a simple dinner. Detective Mercer sat at a small desk, poring over maps and the coordinates found in Chief's collar. "Does any of this make sense to you?" she asked Bennett, frustration evident in her voice. "These coordinates don't match any location relevant to our known cases." Bennett wiped his hands on a towel and joined her. Mike was smart. He wouldn't make it obvious. Maybe there's a code or a pattern we're missing. Tommy, overhearing their conversation, abandoned his game with Chief and wandered over. "Can I see?" The adults exchanged glances before Mercer shrugged and showed him the paper. "Sure, why not? Fresh eyes sometimes help." Tommy studied the numbers and letters with intense concentration. "It looks like the treasure hunt maps we make at school," he said finally. "Treasure hunt?" Bennett repeated. Tommy nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah, when you have to follow clues to find the next spot, and the next, until you get to the treasure." Mercer stared at the boy, then back at the paper. "Sequential coordinates, not pointing to one location, but multiple." She ruffled Tommy's hair. "Out of the mouths of babes." Bennett grabbed a fresh map. "If we plot these as a sequence..." As the adults worked, Tommy returned to Chief, noticing how the dog watched the officers with attentive eyes. "You miss your person, don't you?" he whispered, stroking Chief's fur. "The one who wrote those clues." Chief whined softly, resting his head on Tommy's lap. "It's okay to be sad," Tommy continued. "I get sad too sometimes, even though I never knew my dad." He looked over at his mother, who was now helping the officers plot points on the map. "A mom says it's okay to miss people you love, even if they're gone." Chief licked Tommy's hand, his dark eyes somehow understanding. Tommy noticed the dog's gaze kept returning to the map on the table, as if he recognized what they were doing. "Do you know where the treasure is, Chief?" Tommy whispered. "Is that why those men want to find you?" Chief's ears perked up, and he gave a soft woof in response. "I think he's trying to tell us something," Tommy announced to the adults. Jamie looked up from the map. "Honey, I know you love Chief, but he's just a dog. He can't understand complex conversations." Officer Bennett, however, was more thoughtful. Actually, K-9 units like Chief are trained to respond to specific cues and recognize certain objects. Mike might have conditioned him to react to particular items or locations. Mercer's eyes widened with a sudden realization. "The maps! Show him the maps!" Bennett spread the maps on the floor where Chief could see them. The German Shepherd approached cautiously, sniffing at the papers. When his nose reached a particular area, a small lake about 15 miles from their location, he pawed at the spot and barked sharply. "No way!" Jamie breathed. "Carson Lake," Bennett read, "named after the family that used to own the land. No relation to Mike Carson as far as I know." Too much of a coincidence, Mercer decided. Mike would have chosen that as a meeting point, or a drop location because of the name. Easy to remember. "We need to check it out," Bennett said, already reaching for his jacket. "Tonight?" Jamie asked worriedly. "Is that safe?" Mercer shook her head. "First light tomorrow. I don't want to risk moving in the dark, especially with Tommy." She turned to Bennett. "I'll call for backup to meet us there at dawn." As they settled in for the night, Tommy insisted Chief sleep beside his small cot. The German Shepherd curled protectively at the boy's side, occasionally lifting his head at sounds from the forest outside. "I'll keep you safe," Tommy promised, his small hand resting on Chief's back, "just like you would for Officer Carson." In the main room, Jamie spoke quietly with the officers. "What exactly are we looking for at this lake, and why would someone kill a police officer over it?" Mercer sighed, keeping her voice low to avoid Tommy overhearing. Mike was investigating a series of arsons linked to insurance fraud. Petrov Construction would take contracts, cut corners, then arrange for fires to claim insurance money. But we think Mike found evidence of something bigger. "Like what?" Jamie pressed. "Money laundering," Bennett explained. "Using the construction company to clean dirty money from drug trafficking and other operations. If Mike had proof linking Petrov to organized crime figures, that would be worth killing for," Jamie concluded, a chill running down her spine. Bennett nodded grimly. "And worth trying to find and eliminate any evidence that might have survived, including a highly trained dog who might lead someone to that evidence." In the small bedroom, Tommy had finally drifted off to sleep, but Chief remained vigilant. The dog's sensitive ears picked up sounds imperceptible to humans. The rustle of leaves, the soft crunch of footsteps in the underbrush, the metallic click of a weapon being readied. Chief rose silently from Tommy's side, moving to the window. Outside, shadows moved against the darkness. The German Shepherd's instincts, honed through years of training, recognized the threat immediately. These weren't the officers assigned to patrol the perimeter. With a low growl that escalated into urgent barking, Chief sounded the alarm. Bennett reacted instantly, drawing his weapon. "Everyone down! Mercer, secure the back!" Jamie rushed to Tommy's room, finding her son awake and frightened. Chief stood between them and the window, hackles raised. "Mom? What's happening?" Tommy asked, his voice small with fear. "Everything's okay," Jamie lied, pulling Tommy to the floor beside the bed. "We just need to stay down for a bit." Outside, a voice called through a megaphone. "We know you're in there. Send out the dog and the boy, and no one needs to get hurt." Bennett's face hardened with anger. "Not happening," he muttered, moving carefully to peer through the blinds. Mercer rejoined them, her expression grim. 4 men, armed. They've cut our communication lines and probably disabled our vehicles. "How did they find us?" Jamie asked, clutching Tommy close. "We must have a bigger leak than we thought," Bennett replied. "Or they followed us somehow." Chief paced anxiously between Tommy and the window, whining softly. Tommy watched the dog with growing understanding. "He wants to protect us," the boy whispered, "like he couldn't protect Officer Carson." Jamie hugged her son tighter. "It's not his job to protect us, honey. That's what the police are here for." But as another demand came through the megaphone, followed by the sound of breaking glass as something was thrown against the cabin wall, Tommy's eyes met Chief's. "I think he has a plan," Tommy said suddenly. "Chief knows what to do." The adults exchanged skeptical glances, but their options were limited. "The boy might be on to something," Mercer said finally. "These dogs are trained to handle crisis situations. Carson would have had protocols for ambushes." Bennett knelt beside Chief, looking the dog in the eyes. "What is it, boy? What did Mike teach you?" Chief barked once, then headed purposefully to the back door, looking back expectantly. "He wants us to follow him," Tommy insisted, already moving to join the dog. "Wait," Jamie protested, but Bennett held up a hand. "There's a service path out back that leads deeper into the forest. If Chief knows a safe route..." "It's better than waiting for them to storm in," Mercer concluded. "We'll cover your escape. Get Tommy and Jamie out of here. Follow Chief. Head for the lake. Backup will be there at dawn." Jamie wanted to argue, but knew they had no better option. She grabbed their jackets and Tommy's shoes. Bennett opened the back door a crack, scanning for threats. "Clear for now. Stay low and move fast. Don't stop for anything." Chief slipped out first, his dark fur blending into the shadows. Tommy followed, then Jamie, with Bennett bringing up the rear. Behind them, Mercer created a diversion, firing 2 shots through the front window. The forest was dense and dark, but Chief moved with confidence, occasionally returning to make sure they were following. Tommy kept pace surprisingly well, driven by a mixture of fear and excitement. "It's like we're spies," he whispered to his mother. "Shh," Jamie cautioned, though she couldn't help but admire her son's resilience. They had been moving for about 20 minutes when shouts and flashlight beams appeared behind them. Their pursuers had discovered their escape. "They're gaining on us," Bennett warned, checking his ammunition. "I'll hold them off. You two keep following Chief." "No," Jamie protested. "We stay together." Chief barked softly, drawing their attention. The dog veered off the path, heading down a steep embankment toward what sounded like running water. A stream, Bennett realized. Smart dog. Water will mask our scent and footprints. They followed Chief down to a small creek, the icy water numbing their feet as they waded in. The dog led them downstream for several hundred yards before exiting on the opposite bank and continuing through the forest. The sound of pursuit faded, but they didn't slow their pace. Chief seemed to have a specific destination in mind, moving with the certainty of familiarity. "Do you think he's been here before?" Tommy asked between breaths. Bennett nodded. "This could be part of the training area for K-9 units, or maybe Carson brought him here on personal time." After what felt like hours, the trees thinned, and moonlight revealed a small clearing with an old hunter's cabin, little more than a shack. Chief approached it confidently, scratching at the door. "Is it safe?" Jamie asked nervously. Bennett approached cautiously, gun ready. "Stay back." He tried the door, finding it unlocked. After a quick inspection of the interior, he waved them forward. "It's clear. Looks abandoned, but there's a wood stove and some basic supplies." Once inside, Chief immediately went to a specific floorboard, pawing and whining. "He wants to show us something," Tommy said, dropping to his knees beside the dog. Bennett helped Tommy pry up the loose board, revealing a small metal box. Inside were a USB drive, a notebook, and a photograph of Officer Carson with Chief. "This is it," Bennett breathed. "Mike's insurance policy, the evidence he gathered against Petrov." Jamie peered at the notebook. "Will this be enough to stop them? With what we already have, plus Chief's testimony about the accelerants used in the fire, it should be." Tommy looked confused. "How can Chief testify? He can't talk." Bennett smiled. "In court, they can demonstrate his training, how he identifies specific fire accelerants. His reactions are admissible evidence." "That's why they want him," Tommy realized. "Chief is like a witness who can't be threatened or bribed." "Exactly," Bennett confirmed. "And now, thanks to you, we have both Chief and the evidence he was protecting." Jamie sank onto a dusty chair, the full weight of the situation hitting her. "So what happens now? Those men are still out there." "We stay here until dawn," Bennett decided. "Then make our way to Carson Lake where backup will be waiting. It's about 5 miles from here." Tommy yawned, the adrenaline of their escape finally wearing off. "Chief knew exactly where to go," he mumbled sleepily. "Like he was taking us to his home." Jamie pulled her son close. "Get some rest, honey. You've been so brave." As Tommy drifted off to sleep, Chief kept guard by the door, occasionally looking back at the child who had saved him from the cement. Bennett studied the contents of the metal box while Jamie kept watch out the small window. "There's something here about a connection between Petrov and someone in the police department," Bennett said quietly. "Names, dates, money transfers. This is explosive stuff." "Is that why they had someone in your station? A corrupt officer?" Bennett nodded grimly. "Could be multiple officers. This explains how they always stayed one step ahead of our investigation." Outside, the forest had grown quiet. Too quiet. Chief suddenly stood at attention, a low growl rumbling in his throat. "They found us," Bennett whispered, moving away from the window. Jamie quickly shook Tommy awake. "We need to move again, honey." The boy blinked groggily, but didn't complain. Chief was already at the back wall, nosing at what appeared to be a small trap door. "Another exit?" Bennett said incredulously. "Carson really did think of everything." The trapdoor opened to reveal a narrow tunnel, likely once used by hunters to approach game undetected. It was just wide enough for them to crawl through single file. "Tommy first," Bennett instructed. "Then you, Ms. Walker. Chief and I will bring up the rear." Tommy hesitated, looking at Chief with concern. "What if they catch him?" Bennett placed a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "Chief knows what he's doing. Trust him." Tommy nodded solemnly and entered the tunnel, Jamie close behind. Bennett quickly replaced the metal box under the floorboard, keeping only the USB drive. "No sense risking everything," he explained to Jamie's questioning look. "We can come back for the rest." Just as Chief was about to enter the tunnel, the cabin door burst open. Bennett shoved the dog toward the opening. "Go! Protect them!" Chief hesitated, torn between following his training to obey and his instinct to defend. Bennett made the decision for him, closing the trap door as the first armed man entered the cabin. The last thing Jamie and Tommy heard, before crawling deeper into the tunnel, was Bennett, identifying himself as police and the sound of a struggle. "What about Officer Bennett?" Tommy asked fearfully, sensing something was wrong. "He's buying us time," Jamie replied, her voice tight with worry. "We need to keep moving." Chief pushed past them, taking the lead once more. The tunnel emerged into a rocky area near the stream they had crossed earlier. Without hesitation, Chief guided them upstream, away from the cabin. "Where are we going?" Tommy whispered, his earlier excitement replaced by genuine fear. "To the lake," Jamie reminded him, "where the other police will meet us." They moved as quickly and quietly as possible through the dark forest, following Chief's lead. Occasionally, they heard distant shouts or the crack of branches, but Chief always adjusted their course to avoid detection. As the sky began to lighten with pre-dawn glow, Tommy spotted a shimmer of water through the trees. "The lake!" he exclaimed in a hushed voice. "We made it!" Chief barked softly in agreement, his pace quickening. As they emerged from the tree line, the lake spread before them, mist rising from its surface in the cool morning air. On the far shore, they could make out vehicles and figures, the backup Bennett had called for. "How do we reach them?" Jamie wondered aloud. Chief answered by leading them to a small rowboat partially hidden in the reeds. The old wooden craft looked weathered, but serviceable. Officer Carson must have kept it here, Tommy reasoned, already climbing in, for emergencies. Jamie helped push the boat into the water, and Chief jumped in beside Tommy. Using the single oar, Jamie began to guide them across the lake. They were halfway across when shots rang out from the shore behind them. Their pursuers had found them. "Get down!" Jamie shouted, pushing Tommy flat against the bottom of the boat. Chief positioned himself protectively over the boy, his body a shield. More shots echoed across the water, one splintering the edge of the boat inches from Jamie's hand. On the opposite shore, the police officers had taken notice, returning fire and radioing urgently for more backup. A bullet hit the water beside them, sending up a spray that soaked Tommy's jacket. Chief growled, his eyes fixed on the shore they had left, where shadowy figures moved between trees. "We're not going to make it," Jamie realized, her arms burning with the effort of rowing faster. That's when Chief made a decision. With one gentle lick to Tommy's cheek, the German Shepherd leapt from the boat into the cold lake water. "Chief, no!" Tommy cried, reaching after him. But Chief was already swimming, not toward safety on the far shore, but back toward their pursuers. The dog moved through the water, with powerful strokes, creating a new target, drawing fire away from the boat. "He's protecting us," Jamie gasped, tears streaming down her face as she rowed harder. On the shore, their pursuers focused their attention on Chief, giving Jamie and Tommy enough time to reach the safety of the opposite bank. Police officers rushed into the water to help them ashore. "The dog!" Tommy sobbed, as a female officer wrapped a blanket around him. "They're shooting at Chief." The officers responded with a barrage of covering fire, forcing the gunmen on the far shore to take cover. In the confusion, Chief disappeared from view. "Is he—" Tommy couldn't finish the question. "I'm sure he's fine," Jamie said, though her voice lacked conviction. "Chief is smart and brave." As the sun finally crested the horizon, more police vehicles arrived, including a tactical team that deployed around the lake. The gunmen, outmanned and outgunned, began to retreat into the forest. Tommy sat wrapped in a blanket in the back of an ambulance, staring at the lake, waiting for any sign of Chief. Jamie sat beside him, arm around his shoulders. "He saved us, Mom," Tommy whispered, "just like he couldn't save Officer Carson." "I know, honey," Jamie replied softly. "He's a hero." As the tactical team began crossing the lake in motorboats to pursue the remaining suspects, a commotion arose among the officers on shore. Tommy stood up, straining to see. "What is it?" he asked urgently. "Is it Chief?" And then, through the crowd of officers, a wet, muddy German Shepherd limped into view. Chief was alive, exhausted and bleeding from a graze wound on his shoulder, but alive. Tommy broke free from his mother's grasp, running to meet his friend. Chief's tail wagged weakly as the boy threw his arms around the dog's neck, sobbing with relief. "You came back," Tommy cried, burying his face in Chief's damp fur. "You came back." As officers gathered around them, Chief licked Tommy's tears away, his mission complete. The boy had saved him from cement, and in return, he had saved the boy from those who would do him harm. In that moment, as dawn broke fully over Carson Lake, a new day began, one that would bring justice for a fallen officer and healing for his loyal partner. What do you think? Was Chief trying to sacrifice himself to save Tommy, or did he have another plan all along? The next few hours passed in a blur of police activity, medical examinations, and endless questions. Tommy refused to leave Chief's side, even as a veterinarian cleaned and bandaged the dog's shoulder wound. The German Shepherd remained equally attached to the boy, growling whenever anyone tried to separate them. "He's quite protective of your son," Detective Mercer observed, as she joined Jamie in the makeshift command center set up near the lake. Jamie nodded, watching through the window as Tommy sat on the grass with Chief's head in his lap. "It goes both ways. After everything they've been through together." "Officer Bennett is stable," Mercer said, changing topics. "Bullet grazed his arm, but he managed to get away when our teams arrived at the cabin." Relief washed over Jamie's face. "And the evidence? Did they find the metal box?" "Yes. Combined with the USB drive and what Chief led us to, we've got more than enough to bring down Petrov and his organization." Mercer smiled tightly, "including the corrupt officers on his payroll." "So, it's over?" Jamie asked hopefully. Mercer hesitated. "Almost. We've arrested 4 of Petrov's men, but Petrov himself is still at large, and he knows we have evidence against him now." Jamie's stomach tightened with renewed fear. "We're still in danger." "I won't lie to you. Yes. Until we find Petrov, you and Tommy could be targets. He might see you as loose ends. What about Chief? He's the key witness, right? Mercer nodded grimly. Chief will be under police protection too. In fact, she trailed off, watching as a black SUV pulled up outside. Jamie followed her gaze. What is it? K-9 Division Chief. They'll want to reclaim Chief now that we've found him. Jamie's heart sank. She hadn't considered what would happen to Chief after all this was over. The dog was, after all, police property, a highly trained K-9 officer with years of service ahead of him. Outside, Tommy seemed to sense the same thing. As a uniformed officer approached with a professional K-9 handler, the boy's arms tightened around Chief's neck. I should be out there, Jamie said, already moving toward the door. When she reached Tommy, tears were streaming down his small face. They want to take Chief away, he sobbed. I don't want him to go. Chief sat stoically between Tommy and the handler, his dark eyes moving between them as if understanding the situation perfectly. Ms. Walker, the K-9 Division Chief said, extending his hand, I'm Captain Reynolds. I want to thank you and your son for recovering one of our finest officers. He's not just an officer, Tommy protested, burying his face in Chief's fur. He's my friend. Captain Reynolds knelt to Tommy's level. I understand, son, and what you did to save Chief was incredibly brave, but Chief is a police dog. He has a job to do. His job was with Officer Carson, Tommy argued, and Officer Carson is gone now. The adults exchanged uncomfortable glances. That's true, Captain Reynolds acknowledged, but we'll assign Chief a new handler. He has many years of service left, and his skills are invaluable. Jamie placed a comforting hand on Tommy's shoulder. Honey, we always knew Chief wasn't really ours. He belongs with the police. Tommy's face crumpled, but before he could respond, a commotion near the command center drew everyone's attention. Officer Bennett was approaching, his arm in a sling, accompanied by Detective Mercer. His face was grim as he joined their small group. We just got word, he announced. Petrov was spotted heading south. We think he's trying to flee the country. Captain Reynolds straightened immediately. Do we have people in pursuit? Yes, but he's got at least an hour's head start. And with his resources... What resources does he still have? Jamie asked. Mercer's expression darkened. We've identified 3 corrupt officers, but there could be more. And Petrov has connections outside the department, private security, former military. Chief suddenly stood at attention, his ears perked forward. A low growl rumbled in his throat. What is it, boy? Tommy asked, instantly alert to the dog's change in demeanor. Bennett scanned their surroundings, hand moving toward his holster. He senses something. The K-9 handler stepped forward. Sir, permission to deploy Chief to investigate? Captain Reynolds nodded. Do it. The handler reached for Chief's collar, but the dog sidestepped him, pressing against Tommy's legs. He won't go with you, Tommy said simply. He doesn't trust you. This is ridiculous, the handler muttered. He's a trained police dog, not a pet. Captain Reynolds studied Chief thoughtfully. The boy may have a point. Chief's been through trauma. He's bonded with the child who saved him. Bennett made a quick decision. Tommy, would you walk with Chief? Let him show us what he's sensing? Tommy nodded eagerly, getting to his feet. Come on, Chief, show us. With the adults following cautiously behind, Tommy and Chief began moving along the lakeshore. Chief's behavior grew increasingly alert, nose working, ears forward, muscles tense. He's tracking something, the handler observed. Or someone. Chief led them to a small boathouse at the far end of the lake. He stopped at the door, barking sharply. Everyone back, Bennett ordered, drawing his weapon. Tactical team, front and center. As officers moved into position around the boathouse, Jamie pulled Tommy behind a police vehicle for protection. Chief, however, refused to retreat, standing firm in front of the boathouse door. Chief, come, the handler commanded. The dog didn't budge. It's like he's standing guard, Tommy whispered to his mother, making sure whoever's inside can't get out. The standoff lasted several tense minutes as more officers arrived and positioned themselves. Finally, a voice called from inside the boathouse. I want to speak to whoever's in charge. I know you've got the dog out there. Captain Reynolds stepped forward, keeping behind the cover of a patrol car. This is Captain Reynolds of the Metro Police. Come out with your hands up. Not happening, the voice replied. But I'll make you a deal. Give me Victor Petrov's dog, and I'll let the hostage go. Hostage? Jamie gasped. There's someone in there? Bennett's face paled. He must have grabbed someone when we were focusing on the lakeside pursuit. Who do you have? Reynolds called out. The answer came in the form of a frightened female voice. Please help me. He's got a gun. That's Officer Chen, Bennett realized. She was guarding the east perimeter. While the adults debated their options, Tommy studied Chief's behavior. The dog remained focused on the boathouse, but his posture had changed subtly. Mom, Tommy whispered urgently, I don't think Chief believes there's a hostage. What do you mean, honey? Look at him. When Chief thought we were in danger, he got between us and the bad guys. He's not acting worried about anyone in there. He's just waiting. Jamie relayed Tommy's observation to Bennett, who shared it with Captain Reynolds. The kid could be right, Reynolds murmured. This feels like a trap. Bennett nodded. Petrov would know we'd hesitate if we thought a fellow officer was in danger. So, what do we do? Mercer asked. Reynolds made a quick decision. We call his bluff. Tell him we're sending in the dog. But if there really is a hostage, Jamie began. Chief will know, Bennett interrupted. These dogs are trained to assess threats and protect innocent people. If Officer Chen is really in there and in danger, Chief won't put her at risk. Reynolds turned to the K9 handler. Prepare Chief for entry. The handler approached with a tactical vest designed for police dogs, but Chief backed away, returning to Tommy's side. He still won't let anyone but Tommy handle him, Bennett observed. All eyes turned to the 5-year-old boy. No, Jamie said immediately. Absolutely not. You are not involving my son in a tactical operation. Mom, Tommy said, his voice surprisingly steady. Chief needs my help. He can save the police lady if I help him get ready. Tommy, it's too dangerous. We'll keep him far from the action, Reynolds promised. Just have him help suit up the dog, then we take over. After a moment of internal struggle, Jamie nodded reluctantly. But he stays with me, behind police lines. Under the handler's guidance, Tommy helped secure the protective vest around Chief's body. The German Shepherd stood perfectly still, allowing the boy to adjust straps that he would have snapped at if anyone else had tried. You're going to be brave, just like always, Tommy whispered, hugging Chief tightly. Come back safe, okay? Chief licked Tommy's face once, then turned toward the boathouse, his entire demeanor transforming from friendly pet to working police dog. Release on my command, Reynolds instructed the tactical team. Dog incoming, hold your fire. Tommy and Jamie watched from behind the safety of police vehicles as Chief approached the boathouse. The dog moved with purpose, silent and focused. Dog coming in, Reynolds called to the boathouse. Let the hostage go. Send him in, the voice replied. Alone. At Reynolds' signal, an officer opened the boathouse door, just enough for Chief to slip through. Then silence fell over the lake as everyone waited. Inside the boathouse, Chief found himself in a dim, cluttered space filled with fishing equipment and old boats. His keen nose immediately detected multiple human scents, some fresh, some hours old. The man holding the gun stood behind what appeared to be Officer Chen, using her as a shield. But Chief's superior senses detected something wrong. The female officer's scent was mixed with the man's in a way that indicated cooperation, not coercion. This wasn't a hostage situation. It was a setup. Outside, the seconds ticked by with excruciating slowness. Tommy clutched his mother's hand, eyes fixed on the boathouse door. Why isn't anything happening? He whispered. Chief is assessing the situation, Bennett explained, though tension was evident in his voice. Then it happened. A series of sharp, distinctive barks erupted from inside the boathouse. The K9 handler straightened immediately. That's an alert bark. He's identified a threat, but no genuine hostage situation. Move in, Reynolds commanded. Before the tactical team could reach the door, gunshots exploded from inside the boathouse. Tommy screamed, and Jamie clutched him tightly. More shots followed, along with the sounds of struggle and a pained yelp that could only have come from Chief. Chief, Tommy cried, trying to break free from his mother's grip. The tactical team breached the door, filling the small building with officers. More shouting, another shot, then silence. Tommy sobbed against his mother's shoulder, unable to look. Jamie held him tightly, her own heart racing with fear for the dog that had become so important to her son. After what seemed like an eternity, Bennett approached them, his face somber. Is he... Jamie couldn't finish the question. Bennett knelt to Tommy's level. Chief has been injured, but he's alive. Tommy raised his tear-streaked face. Really? Really? He needs medical attention right away, but he's one tough dog. Bennett's expression softened. He saved a lot of lives today. Officer Chen was working with Petrov. She's the one who helped them find the safe house. And the man in there with her? Viktor Petrov himself? Jamie gasped. He never fled south. It was a diversion. Exactly. He was hiding in plain sight, using Officer Chen as his inside person. He planned to escape by boat once night fell. Bennett placed a gentle hand on Tommy's shoulder. Chief saw through their ruse. He knew Chen wasn't a real hostage. Is Petrov? Jamie asked, glancing towards the boathouse. In custody. Chief took him down and held him until our team got inside. Petrov got off a couple of shots, one of which hit Chief in the side, but the vest absorbed most of the impact. Tommy wiped his eyes. Can I see him, please? The vet is with him now, Bennett said. As soon as they stabilize him, you can see him. I promise. The next hour was the longest of Tommy's young life. He sat with his mother in the back of an ambulance, refusing offers of hot chocolate and blankets. All he wanted was to see Chief. Finally, a police officer approached with news. The veterinarian says Chief is stable enough for a brief visit. Tommy practically flew from the ambulance, with Jamie hurrying behind. They were led to a mobile veterinary unit where Chief lay on a treatment table, an IV in his leg and bandages around his torso. Despite his injuries, the German Shepherd's tail thumped weakly against the table when he saw Tommy. "Chief!" Tommy cried, rushing to the dog's side. "You're okay!" "Careful," the veterinarian cautioned. "He's still in pain, but the bullet didn't hit any vital organs. The vest did its job." Tommy gently stroked Chief's head, tears falling onto the dog's fur. "You got the bad man, Chief. You finished Officer Carson's mission." Chief licked Tommy's hand, his dark eyes filled with what could only be described as understanding. Captain Reynolds entered the treatment area, his face solemn but relieved. "We got him, thanks to Chief. Petrov is in custody, along with Officer Chen and 3 other corrupt officers. The case is closed." "So, what happens now?" Jamie asked, the question they had been avoiding. Reynolds looked at Chief, then at Tommy's tearful face. "Officially, Chief should return to active duty once he recovers. We'd assign him a new handler, and he'd continue his service." Tommy's lower lip trembled. "But he saved me, and I saved him." "I know, son." Reynolds sighed heavily. "The thing is, police dogs are expensive to train. Chief represents years of investment and specialized skills. But, Jamie prompted, but sometimes after a traumatic event, a police dog can develop attachments, behaviors that make it difficult to reassign them. Reynolds studied Chief thoughtfully. "In those cases, we sometimes consider early retirement and adoption." Tommy's eyes widened with hope. "You mean Chief could come live with us?" "It's not standard procedure," Reynolds cautioned. "There would be evaluations, paperwork, home visits to ensure proper care." "We would take the best care of him," Tommy promised fervently. "I'd learn everything about how to help him." Reynolds smiled. "I believe you would." He turned to Jamie. "Ms. Walker, raising a former police dog is a big responsibility. They're not typical pets." Jamie looked at her son's pleading face, then at Chief, who was watching the conversation with those intelligent eyes. After everything they had been through, how could she possibly say no? "I think," she said slowly, "that Chief has already chosen his new family, and we would be honored to have him." Reynolds nodded. "I'll start the paperwork. In the meantime, Chief needs rest and recovery. He can do that at a canine recovery facility or he can come home with us," Jamie finished firmly. 2 weeks later, Tommy sat on the floor of their apartment's living room, gently brushing Chief's fur. The German Shepherd's wounds were healing well, and though he would always carry the scars of his ordeal, his spirit remained unbroken. "Mom says you can sleep on my bed now that you're feeling better," Tommy informed the dog, "but you have to stay on your side." Chief wagged his tail in what seemed like agreement. The doorbell rang, causing Chief to lift his head alertly. His days as a police dog had left him vigilant, but he no longer growled at every visitor. Jamie opened the door to admit Officers Bennett and Mercer, along with Captain Reynolds. They had become regular visitors during Chief's recovery. "How's our hero doing?" Bennett asked, kneeling to greet Chief with a gentle pat. "Much better," Tommy reported proudly. "He can walk all the way to the park now without getting tired." Reynolds handed Jamie an official-looking document, the final adoption papers. Chief is officially retired from police service and legally yours." Tommy's face lit up with joy. "Did you hear that, Chief? You're really ours now." Chief responded by licking Tommy's face enthusiastically. "There's something else," Mercer added, producing a small box. "In recognition of Chief's service and bravery, the department wanted him to have this." Inside was a Medal of Honor, similar to those given to human officers, engraved with Chief's name and badge number. "And this is for you, Tommy," Bennett said, presenting the boy with a junior police badge, "for extraordinary bravery in saving a police officer." Tommy accepted the badge with wide eyes. Wow. As the officers shared coffee with Jamie, discussing the ongoing trial of Petrov and his accomplices, Tommy sat with Chief near the window, the late afternoon sun warming them both. "You know what, Chief?" Tommy whispered. "I think Officer Carson would be really proud of you. You finished his mission." Chief rested his head on Tommy's lap, his eyes drifting closed in contentment. Later that night, as Tommy slept peacefully, Chief maintained his vigilant position at the foot of the bed. The German Shepherd's acute hearing picked up every sound in the apartment building, but nothing alarmed him. His family was safe. On the nightstand beside Tommy's bed sat a framed photograph. Officer Carson with Chief at graduation from K-9 training. Beside it was a newer picture of Tommy, Jamie, and Chief in the park, all three looking happy and at peace. Chief's journey from a loyal police dog to a trapped victim in cement to a beloved family member had been marked by loss and danger, but also by extraordinary courage and love. In saving Tommy from Petrov's men, he had found not just a new purpose, but a new home. And somewhere, perhaps, the spirit of Officer Carson watched over them both, the partner he had trained and the boy who had saved that partner when no one else could. In the quiet of the night, as Chief drifted off to sleep beside his new young handler, one could almost imagine Carson's voice whispering, "Good boy, Chief. Good boy." Has a dog or pet ever shown extraordinary loyalty or intelligence to protect you? Share your story in the comments. 6 months passed, transforming life for Tommy, Jamie, and Chief in ways none of them could have anticipated. The apartment that once felt spacious enough for a single mother and her young son now accommodated a fully recovered German Shepherd who seemed to take up more space than his size suggested. "Chief, sitting on the couch is against the rules," Jamie reminded the dog one Saturday morning, only to be met with an intelligent stare that somehow conveyed both understanding and selective hearing. Tommy giggled from his spot on the floor, surrounded by colorful building blocks. "He just wants to see out the window better, Mom." "Uh-huh-huh," Jamie replied skeptically, though her expression remained fond. Chief had become as much her dog as Tommy's, his protective nature and unwavering loyalty winning her over completely. Life had largely returned to normal after the excitement and danger of the Petrov case. Viktor Petrov and his accomplices had been convicted, with Chief's evidence playing a crucial role in the prosecution. The story of a brave little boy saving a police dog trapped in cement had made local headlines, earning Tommy a moment of fame that he accepted with surprising modesty. Chief's official adoption had been finalized, his transition from police K-9 to family pet smoother than anyone expected. The department's K-9 trainers had warned of possible adjustment issues. Working dogs sometimes struggled with retirement, but Chief seemed to understand his new purpose perfectly. He was Tommy's guardian now, his partner, his friend. The doorbell rang, causing Chief to leap from the couch with a warning bark. Some habits from his police days remained firmly intact, vigilance being chief among them. "It's probably just the mail," Jamie said, moving toward the door. Chief positioned himself between Tommy and the entrance, his posture alert but not alarmed. He had developed a remarkable ability to differentiate between routine visitors and potential threats. Jamie checked the peephole, then relaxed. "It's Officers Bennett and Mercer." At the sound of familiar names, Chief's tail began to wag. The two officers had become regular visitors, checking on Chief's adjustment and bringing updates about the aftermath of the Petrov case. "Hey, buddy," Bennett greeted Chief as he entered, receiving an enthusiastic welcome from the German Shepherd. "Looking good. Retirement suits you." Mercer knelt to ruffle Chief's fur. "Has he been behaving himself?" "He's the best dog ever," Tommy declared, abandoning his blocks to join the group. "He even helped me find my missing shoe yesterday. I looked everywhere, but Chief went right to it under the bed." "Once a detective, always a detective," Bennett laughed. The officer settled onto the couch, accepting coffee from Jamie. Chief lay at Tommy's feet, content but watchful. "So, what brings you by today?" Jamie asked. "Just a social visit?" Bennett and Mercer exchanged glances that immediately put Jamie on alert. "Not exactly," Mercer admitted. "We have some news about the Petrov case." Tommy looked up, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "Is it bad news?" Bennett sighed. "One of Petrov's associates, a man named Alexei Kozlov, escaped custody during a transfer 2 days ago." Jamie's hand flew to her mouth. "And you think he might come here? After Chief?" "We don't have any specific threat," Mercer assured her quickly, "but Kozlov was Petrov's right-hand man. He was directly involved in Officer Carson's murder and was one of the men searching for Chief afterward." "He knows Chief was the key to bringing down their operation," Bennett added. "And he knows Chief lives with you now." Tommy's small hand reached for Chief's fur, finding comfort in the dog's solid presence. "Chief would protect us if the bad man came, right?" "Absolutely," Bennett confirmed. "But we're not taking any chances. We're setting up additional patrols in your neighborhood, and we'd like to install some extra security measures in your apartment." "Like what?" Jamie asked, her voice tight with renewed fear. "Improved locks, a security system connected directly to the station, and a panic button," Mercer explained. "Simple precautions that will help us respond quickly if anything happens." Jamie nodded, though her face remained pale. "Whatever you think is necessary." As the adults discussed security details, Tommy leaned close to Chief's ear. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'll protect you too." Chief responded with a gentle lick to Tommy's cheek, seemingly understanding the boy's concern. The rest of the day passed uneventfully. The security team arrived to install the new systems, and Tommy helped Jamie prepare a special dinner for their guests. By nightfall, the apartment was more secure than it had ever been, and despite the unsettling news, a sense of safety had been restored. After Bennett and Mercer left with promises to check in regularly, Jamie tucked Tommy into bed, Chief assuming his customary position at the foot of the mattress. "Mom?" Tommy asked sleepily. "Could the bad man really find us?" Jamie smoothed back her son's hair. "The police are watching out for us, honey. And so is Chief. We're going to be fine." "Chief would never let anyone hurt us," Tommy mumbled, already drifting off to sleep. Jamie gazed at the German Shepherd, who met her eyes with a look that seemed almost human in its reassurance. "No," she agreed softly. "He wouldn't." In the middle of the night, Chief's eyes snapped open. His ears pivoted, catching a sound too faint for human hearing, the soft scrape of metal against metal at the apartment's rear window. Silently, the German Shepherd rose from Tommy's bed and moved to the bedroom door, which Jamie had left slightly ajar. He slipped into the hallway, his nails clicking softly on the hardwood floor as he approached the living room. The security system should have detected any intrusion, but if someone knew how to disable it. A shadow moved across the moonlit living room, a man's figure carefully picking his way around the furniture. Chief remained in the darkness of the hallway, assessing the threat. The intruder's scent was unfamiliar, but there was something about his movements that triggered Chief's training. This was no random burglar. This was someone with purpose, someone dangerous. Chief watched as the man moved toward Tommy's bedroom door, confirming his worst suspicions. With a deep growl that seemed to rise from the very core of his being, Chief stepped into the living room, placing himself directly in the intruder's path. The man froze, startled by the sudden appearance of the German Shepherd. "So," he whispered with a heavy accent, "we meet at last, dog." Chief's growl deepened, the fur along his spine rising. "I've waited a long time for this," the man continued, reaching slowly into his jacket. Chief didn't wait to see what he was retrieving. With lightning speed born from years of police training, he launched himself at the intruder, aiming for the arm reaching inside the jacket. The man cried out in pain and surprise as Chief's powerful jaws clamped down on his wrist. Something metallic clattered to the floor. A gun. The commotion woke Jamie immediately. She fumbled for the panic button beside her bed, pressing it repeatedly before rushing to Tommy's room. "Mom, what's happening?" Tommy asked, startled awake by the sounds of struggle. "Stay here," Jamie ordered, closing his door firmly. "Lock it and don't open it for anyone but me or the police." In the living room, Chief maintained his grip on the intruder despite the man's attempts to shake him off. Years of training had taught the German Shepherd exactly how much pressure to apply, enough to disable without causing permanent damage. Jamie flipped on the lights to find Chief effectively pinning a struggling man to the floor, while keeping his jaws firmly locked on the intruder's arm. "Alexei Kozlov," she whispered, recognizing him from news reports. The man's eyes flashed with hatred. "Call off your dog," he spat. "I don't think so," Jamie replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "The police are already on their way." As if on cue, sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer by the second. Kozlov renewed his struggles, managing to kick Chief hard in the side. The German Shepherd released a pained yelp, but didn't loosen his grip. "Chief's not letting you go anywhere," Jamie said, keeping a safe distance but standing her ground. "It's over." The apartment door burst open as Bennett and Mercer led a tactical team into the living room, weapons drawn. "Police, don't move," Bennett shouted, though the command was hardly necessary with Chief maintaining his hold. "Call off the dog," Kozlov demanded again, his face contorted with pain. Bennett approached cautiously. "Chief, release." Chief hesitated, his jaws remaining locked on Kozlov's arm. "It's okay, Chief," Bennett assured him. "We've got him now." Slowly, Chief released his grip and backed away, positioning himself protectively in front of Jamie, his mission complete, but his guard not lowered. As officers handcuffed Kozlov and led him away, Tommy's bedroom door cracked open. "Mom, is it safe?" "Yes, honey," Jamie called, her voice finally breaking with emotion. "Everything's okay now?" Tommy rushed out, flinging himself first at his mother, then at Chief, examining the dog frantically for injuries. "Are you hurt? Did the bad man hurt you?" Chief licked Tommy's face reassuringly, though he favored his left side where Kozlov had landed a solid kick. "We'll have the vet check him," Bennett promised, holstering his weapon. "But I think he's fine. Chief's tougher than he looks." Mercer knelt beside them. He did exactly what he was trained to do, neutralized the threat and protected his family. "How did Kozlov find us?" Jamie asked, still shaking slightly from the adrenaline. "He's been watching your apartment for days," Bennett explained grimly, "waiting for an opportunity. Tonight, he thought he'd disabled your security system. But he didn't count on Chief," Tommy said proudly, his arms around the dog's neck. "No," Mercer agreed with a smile. "Nobody should ever underestimate Chief." The following days brought a flurry of activity, police statements, security upgrades, and a thorough checkup for Chief, who had indeed suffered bruised ribs but no lasting damage. The attempted break-in made headlines, further cementing Chief's reputation as a hero dog. Kozlov's capture and subsequent confession provided the final pieces of evidence needed to dismantle what remained of Petrov's criminal network. The case that had begun with Officer Carson's murder 6 months earlier was finally, truly closed. 2 weeks after the incident, on a crisp autumn morning, Jamie, Tommy, and Chief were invited to police headquarters for what they assumed would be routine follow-up questions. Instead, they found themselves ushered into a ceremony hall filled with officers in dress uniforms. "What's going on?" Tommy whispered to his mother. Before Jamie could answer, Captain Reynolds approached them, smiling broadly. "Tommy, Ms. Walker, we have a special presentation today. The department would like to honor Chief for his extraordinary service, both as a police dog and in civilian life." Tommy's eyes widened. "Like a medal ceremony?" "Exactly like that," Reynolds confirmed. "And something more." As they were led to seats in the front row, Tommy noticed a large covered frame on an easel nearby. Chief, sensing the importance of the occasion, walked with unusual decorum, his head high and posture perfect. The ceremony began with speeches recounting the Petrov case and Chief's pivotal role in bringing the criminals to justice. Tommy listened with rapt attention, occasionally whispering clarifications to Chief, as if the dog needed reminding of his own heroism. "And now," Captain Reynolds announced, "I'd like to invite Tommy Walker to join me in unveiling a special tribute." Tommy approached nervously, Chief at his side. Together, they pulled the cloth from the frame to reveal a large photograph of Officer Michael Carson with Chief, alongside a new portrait of Chief with Tommy. Between the images was a plaque that read, "In honor of K9 Officer Chief and his handlers, past and present, guardians, heroes, friends." Tears sprang to Tommy's eyes. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "Chief's story is extraordinary," Reynolds told the assembled officers and guests. "From loyal police dog to victim, to key witness, to family protector. He represents the very best of what we strive for in our K9 program, intelligence, courage, and unwavering loyalty. Reynolds then presented Tommy with a smaller version of the framed tribute to take home, along with something unexpected, a specially made canine trainer's jacket in Tommy's size, complete with official patches. "We've been watching how Chief responds to you," Reynolds explained to the amazed boy. "You have a natural gift with dogs, Tommy. When you're older, if you're interested, there might be a place for you in our canine training program." Tommy's face lit up with joy. "Did you hear that, Chief? We could work together for real someday." Chief's tail wagged enthusiastically, as if he understood every word. Later that evening, as Tommy proudly wore his new jacket around the apartment, Jamie received an unexpected phone call. After a lengthy conversation that Tommy couldn't quite hear, she joined him on the couch, her expression both excited and nervous. "That was a publisher," she explained. "They want to create a children's book about you and Chief. Your story has touched so many people, Tommy." "A real book? About us?" Tommy gasped, looking to Chief for confirmation that this amazing news was real. "They think it could help teach kids about bravery, friendship, and doing the right thing even when it's scary," Jamie continued. "Would you like that, to share your story with other children?" Tommy thought for a moment, his hand absently stroking Chief's fur. "I think Officer Carson would like that," he said finally. "So people remember him too." Jamie hugged her son, once again amazed by his compassion and wisdom beyond his years. "I think you're right." In the months that followed, life settled into a new normal. Tommy returned to kindergarten, occasionally accompanied by Chief for special show-and-tell days that thrilled his classmates. Jamie worked with the publisher on the children's book, providing photographs and helping to shape the story of a brave boy and his remarkable dog. Chief adapted fully to family life, though he never lost the alertness and intelligence that had made him an exceptional police dog. He greeted each day with the same dedication he had once given to his official duties, only now his mission was simpler: love and protect his boy. 1 year to the day after Tommy had discovered Chief trapped in cement, they returned to the now active construction site, accompanied by Officers Bennett and Mercer. The half-finished building where they had first met was now a completed community center, and a special ceremony was being held to dedicate one of its rooms. "The Carson Walker K9 Training Room," Bennett announced, unveiling a plaque beside the door, where local children can learn about police dogs and their important work. Tommy, now 6 years old and inches taller, stood proudly beside Chief, as cameras flashed and reporters asked questions. The German Shepherd remained calm amid the commotion, a dignified presence beside his young handler. "How does it feel to come back here, Tommy?" a reporter asked. "To the place where you saved Chief?" Tommy looked down at Chief, then back at the reporter. "It feels right," he said simply, "like we were supposed to find each other." Later, as they walked home through the park, Tommy threw a ball for Chief to chase, a game the former police dog had finally learned to enjoy without considering it a training exercise. "You know, Chief," Tommy said as they paused by a pond to watch ducks, "even though lots of bad things happened, I'm glad I found you that day. You're the best thing that ever happened to me." Chief pressed against Tommy's side, offering the canine equivalent of a hug. In his intelligent eyes was a depth of understanding and love that transcended words. As the afternoon sun warmed them, Tommy found himself wondering about the future. Would he really become a canine trainer when he grew up? Would Chief still be with him, an old and wise companion to his teenage self? Whatever came next, Tommy knew one thing with absolute certainty. The bond formed between a brave little boy and a German Shepherd trapped in cement had changed not just their lives, but countless others. It was a story of courage, loyalty, and the extraordinary connection between humans and dogs that reminded everyone of the best parts of themselves. And as Chief chased another thrown ball, his powerful legs carrying him across the grass with joy and freedom, Tommy thought he could almost hear Officer Carson's voice on the breeze, whispering those simple words of approval and love. "Good boy, Chief, good boy." What moment in this story touched your heart the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories that will leave you in tears.